So I wanted to start with Cade Cunningham first. So what kind of things are you expecting out of him this upcoming season?
Sure. So I think Cade is going to have to be my expectation for Cade is to lead this team to a playoff berth again, to play at an all-star level. Like maybe, some guys don't get injured this year and he's not selected for an all-star spot. Like, okay, sure. Play at an all NBA level. I thought he was deserving of being a second team all NBA type performer last year. He obviously made third team. And so I think he can replicate that. The thing I would like to see him develop and do a little bit better is the 3-point shooting. We saw in particular in the Knicks series how his uncomfortableness, his uncomfortability. I don't know. He looked uncomfortable taking like pull-up threes. And so it's like he's got to get a little bit better at that. But that was really we're picking flaws, right? Again, like Cade was the engine that drove this team to a playoff berth last season. So that's what my expectations for Cade are. Like more of the same. I don't expect like a huge jump. I don't know if that's reasonable after like a career year last year. But yeah, more of the same. Like maybe like a little like 3% bump, right? Adjust for inflation, Cade.
Yeah. I felt like once the regular season was over, like he just had tired legs. And maybe I'm just kind of using an excuse for why that 3-point shot wasn't going in, because at times during the season it looked really good. I mean, I remember he was shooting like 40% from three really early on in the season. I was like, hey, if you can shoot 40%, man, that's huge. But I do agree with you there. I kind of expect his scoring to dip down a little bit with Jaden Ivey coming back. Like I don't expect him to, average 26 a night, because I don't really think he has to. I know he's capable of doing it, but I don't really think the scoring load will be on him every night with not having Jaden Ivey. And I'm not even gonna mention like Malik Beasley, because I've talked about it as not nauseum. I don't know about you, but it's just like I don't really know what's gonna happen there. But like I could see his scoring be like around maybe like 23 to like 24 a game with a healthy Ivey coming back.
I could see that too. And if that corresponds with like if he was averaging 26 and 9 and now he's averaging 24 and 10, like those are functionally the same numbers, right? 10 assists looks cooler though. I'll grant him that.
Yeah, I mean, that would be cool if he did have like 10 assists and the turnovers were like maybe I could live with like 3 a game with his usage, but I don't know about you.
It's like I've told myself at this point that it kind of is that's who he is, and so I'm living with 4. Right, you live with 4, and you just enjoy the playmaking and the crazy assists he made at the end of Game 2 against the Knicks and stuff. So
yeah, like I said, I don't really think too many people are gonna have like expectations for him to just like you know, either drop off or, average 30. I don't really see that in his future, but I know he's capable of scoring 30 and everything. But,
yeah,
averaging 30, that's a lot to ask out of, Cade. Not to
yeah,
say that he can't do it, but I mean, like, there's levels. I
yeah.
just don't really know if he's there yet.
The type of like he would have to change his game, I think, to get to that level, right? He'd have to take a lot more threes. We talked about how that wasn't necessarily like something he wanted to do last year. He'd have to get to the free throw line a lot more. I thought he did. I thought he got more calls. I don't know if he did anything like magically better after the All-Star break, but it definitely seemed like being named an All-Star gave him like more respect in the referee's eyes, and so he got some more calls. But yeah, like those are the ways you get to 30 is more threes, shooting better from 3 and more free throws, right?
Yeah, I mean, if he got SGA's whistle, he'd probably get 30 easy.
Easily.
I think a lot of people would average 30 if they had SGA's whistle. I did want to kind of like stick with the backcourt. Jaden Ivey, I have a lot of expectations for him, but I'd love to hear what you think. Like with him, coming off an injury last year, played really good in 30 games. But what do you think we could see out of him this year?
Yeah, this is the tricky one for me because I do think that like Jaden was starting to hit his stride right before the injury. But we never really got to see him and Asar play together. And that was the thing. That's something I'm most curious to see is how those two guys kind of interact with each other on the court. Jaden shot really well on catch and shoot threes last year. It's a big addition. Like if you're going to be next to Cade Cunningham, shooting good on catch and shoot threes is a really good way to fit in next to him. Um, and I thought that he did a good job like balancing his 3-point attempts and like shots at the rim. I thought he did a good job of like keeping those two in tension and like not so the defense like couldn't key in on what exactly he wanted to do. What I will say though is that he still needs to finish better at the rim. This is something that like Kuka Hill has been on top of for like 2 seasons, and it's true. And I think that he needs to, if he's going to be in bench lineups with Karis LeVert and they're like sharing ball handling duties, like neither one is like a really like a primary per se. I think Jaden needs to do a little bit better job of distributing, right? Sometimes you can see him you can see him pass or like his mindset is to pass, and sometimes his mindset is to shoot, and he needs to do I think a better job like switching between the two or being kind of creative in the flow of things, so like predetermining like what he's going to do. But I think Jaden's going to be a really good player this year. He's, as far as we know, like as of this recording, he's still competing for a contract, so I'm sure he's going to be motivated to put up counting stats. I don't know how if that leads to winning, I think that'll be a good thing. I think we've seen in the case of like Cam Thomas and Josh Giddey, like just like putting up counting stats and putting up numbers like isn't necessarily enough to get the kind of contract you want. So I do worry about that. But if the team wins and Jaden puts up really good numbers and he's able to handle the ball in bench lineups and is able to shoot like really well on catch and shoot threes, like it'll be a successful season for him in my mind.
I feel like he has so much pressure on him, and I think it's his fans putting pressure on him. I don't really think it's like the organization putting pressure on him because like we haven't seen this backcourt actually play like constructive, like more than like what, like maybe 40, 50 games together. You had the Monty year, which was just a whole experience in itself. His rookie year, Cade goes down. Last year, I felt like he was starting to turn a corner and, was putting everything together. He was, hitting his 3-point shots at a pretty good clip. But I do agree with you with the finishing at the rim. It kind of boggles my mind given the type of athlete he is and that just that fast twitch first step that he does have. I'd like to see those numbers go up. I think my expectations for him defensively, I want him to fight a little bit more up off the top of screens because I feel like in certain situations, sometimes he will, and sometimes he's just like, nope. Hey Stu, you got him? Like, or hey, sorry, you got him, and it starts like way over on the opposite side of the court. Like, I want to see him get better defensively. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, that's definitely been a weakness of him. But I think at this point, like it's also kind of what I expect. He's like maybe it's a technique thing more than an effort thing. I don't think he's like bad at effort, but I do just want him to like be a little bit better about getting around screens, being a little bit better as like the low man. He's such a good athlete, and he's never been like a really good rebounder, and like that'd be one way to contribute defensively is just like average like 5.5 rebounds a game from your shooting guard spot. Like that'd be really cool. So yeah, but I don't have grand expectations for his defense. I kind of just think that's kind of who he is as a player.
He sucks me in, man. It'll be like a game where there's a game this year where he was just like fighting over the top of screens. He was really active, and I was like, okay, maybe that's something to build off. And then like the next game, he like injures his toe and he's out for a week. I was like, crap. So like all the expectations.
Never hustle.
Yeah, you injured yourself playing too hard. But I think the one question I have is like, obviously they didn't sign a backup point guard. And they still want to stagger, and I guess you could probably play Karis LeVert, handling the ball. Maybe a star does get some reps there. But my only like probably question, maybe you can answer this for me, is just like, do you run the risk of him, overworking himself? Being in the starting lineup with Cade and then trying to run that second unit.
I don't think so, or I hope not, right? Because I think that's ultimately like what his role is going to be as a professional, and so you'd hope he'd execute like really well in that role as opposed to it being like a little too much for him. I do like I'm not super comfortable with if he can't do it, then that means like Karis LeVert is your backup point guard. I'm not super comfortable with that. So I would really prefer for him to rise to that level and them to be able to share ball handling duties. So like, I hope you're wrong, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I feel about it.
I just worry with just like getting like overloaded through a long NBA season.
Mhm.
Obviously, like you mentioned like Cade earlier, like his legs looked really tired come playoff time, and the 3-point shot kind of
Yeah.
suffered. Like, I just wonder and question if having him as a second unit backup point guard could kind of have a similar effect of terms of just his production night in and night out.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a fair concern. Absolutely.
Well, hey man, I hope you're right. I hope he can handle it. I don't want to see Marcus Sasser backup point guard minutes. Love you, Marcus, but
Yeah, we,
that
we ran we ran that experiment. It didn't
I
go so good.
I hope that experiment died. I talked about Marcus Sasser for 20 minutes yet last night. I don't even know why. Like people are asking about like what is he
Because
going to
it's
be on the
September. That's why.
Yeah, it's just like, man, I should not be going this in depth with Marcus Sasser right now, but you guys are just I love my subscribers. Like they're the definition of just Pistons diehards.